Going to pass on the ball to Betha to get us started here for session 5. Thank you, Jennifer, and greetings, everybody. Welcome to live session 5 of our Wikipedia Plus Libraries Better Together course. We are making amazing progress, and I just love to welcome people, not just from around the country, from around the world. It's just really exciting to be working with all of you. I'm always big on putting faces to names, so here's our core project team. And we have special guest presenters today. Again, we have Rajene, Hardeman, and Sherry Antoine, and they're going to share their experiences with AfroCROWD later in this session. And always a really appreciative nod to our Wikipedia guides who are providing so much sharing their knowledge and their experience as being more deeply immersed in Wikipedia with those of us who are really just dipping our toes in and venturing into these waters. As Jennifer said, we have a lot to tell you about today. So in addition to hearing from our guest presenters, we're going to talk about your accomplishments. You've actually done quite a bit since the beginning of this course. Monica's going to cover some additional editing topics, and then more general about Wikipedia events, and then how we're going to start moving your intentions into action and our next steps. So as usual, a lot to cover in our 90 minutes together. But first, I love to do these warm-up activities, so we're going to give you permission to use the annotation tools. And I think probably most of you have been through this drill before. You find the little gray marker in the upper left-hand corner of your presentation screen. Click it, it turns blue. Go down 4 spaces, find the open square, and then the drop-down menu and the check mark, and we're getting check marks all over the screen. More of these vociferous check marks you're really getting into. So I'm going to actually ask you when we go to the activity on the next screen to use your small check marks, because you will see how quickly things will get confusing if you're using these large check marks. So if you will withhold your check marks now, and remember when we go to the next screen to use only the small check marks, if possible, please. Okay, here we go. And we're going to do an activity with a Halloween theme, because here we are almost at the end of October. So this is a sentence from the actual Wikipedia article on Halloween. And what I'd like you to do here is put a check mark on every word or phrase that you think would be a suitable wiki link. So that is a word or phrase that would link to other information in Wikipedia, to other articles and other pages. So we're getting some good check marking going on. I could give you a hint and tell you there are at least 10. Getting lots of check marking. And in a minute, I'm going to show you the actual links that exist. So interesting. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I think we're good. I know that people who are on mobile devices aren't able, unfortunately, to use the annotation tools, and I'm not sure if there's a problem with Mac on using annotation tools, but I apologize if some of you aren't able to get there. But I think at this point we can stop the check marking. I love the check marks up on article and talk, yes. Aww, Halloween. Somebody loves Halloween. Okay. If you withhold your check marks, and actually we'll turn those off in the admin panel so that you can't check mark, and we're going to go to the answer screen. So this is the article as it looks, and as you all very correctly noted, the trick-or-treating, guising, Halloween costume, jack-o'-lanterns, bonfires, apple bobbing, divination games, pranks, haunted attractions, and horror films are all wiki-linked in that article, but as you also, I think, very astutely noted, there could additionally be wiki links around carving pumpkins and around scary stories. And I actually had looked up scary stories in Wikipedia. There are a couple of entries, but they refer to specific books or series of stories. So there isn't a specific sort of category of scary stories, but there is an entry for ghost stories. And if you look at the WikiLink tutorial that we provided over the last couple of weeks, it's very possible, and it's actually a good practice, to link to something that doesn't have the exact same name. So you could insert a wiki link for scary stories that would link to the article on ghost stories. Pumpkins are not linked, and they're actually, Jack-o'-lanterns talks about carving pumpkins, but yeah, pumpkins themselves, and there are quite a few entries on pumpkins, whether it's giant pumpkins or ordinary pumpkins. So there's room for improvement on this article. Great participation. I feel like you are all right on the page with WikiLinks, and at this point, we're going to turn it over to Monica to take us forward.
Thank you. What a fun activity. I also love Halloween, and I love how eager you are to jump in and suggest changes. And indeed, this is really what we've been up to. So I wanted to start off this portion of our time together by asking you again a question that we asked earlier in the course, which is, have you edited Wikipedia before? So we're going to do another annotation, and I'd really like to see where everyone is at. If you can go ahead and get those check marks out and tell us what you've done. Have you edited Wikipedia? Those of you who are here participating in the live session, let us know. It looks like we're seeing a lot of check marks in the yes. This is really exciting. And a few of you who are still getting your bearings, but this is a distinct shift from the beginning of the course when I would say the majority of check marks were in the no, and in the pre-survey we asked you, had you edited Wikipedia before, and more than 70% said you had never edited Wikipedia. So very exciting to really see this shift take place, and I want to congratulate you on your accomplishments. So let's see here. What have you done? Oh, is it going to advance? Okay, yes. Well, everyone, I have been really delighted by all of the edits that you've done in the past few weeks as you've gone through the tutorials and reviewed our course materials and jumped in. We have data on 235 of our course participants, and that's because you've included your Wikipedia name in your WebJunction profile. So that's how we've been able to see what you've been up to. And my oh my, you've been busy. There are more than 3,000 edits made in Wikipedia, which averages to be about 11 per editor. But of course, some of you have really done extraordinary work, and others are still just stepping in little by little. And now I want to remind you, an edit is when you press save, so that's not a sign of how much you've contributed. One edit could be, 2 paragraphs, a wiki link, and a citation. Of all those edits, you've improved over 336 articles, and those articles, since our course started, have had 1.8 million page views total. So that's great reach. A lot of people are looking at the articles that you've been contributing to. It is extremely rewarding to see all of this and know that the little work, the gnome work that you're doing is having an impact. So congratulations, everyone. What have you been editing about? Well, a lot of you have been editing on geography. This is a kind of a screen made out of a word cloud, word art, of the names of the articles that have been edited. And I'm seeing a lot of North Carolina. I think one of you is a very, Wistful Vistas, congratulations, is very devoted to improving articles on locations. But many of you have edited or improved articles on geographies. So that is wonderful. One that struck me that I just wanted to highlight for you is just going in and adding wiki links is a really great way to build out this web of knowledge. So many articles around the world are underdeveloped on English Wikipedia. So this article about Baratang Island in the Bay of Bengal near India had a lot of opportunity for improvement, and one of you took the lead and went in and added citations and wiki links to this article. So this is really impressive. I just wanted to highlight, this is how you can look at the revision history, and this is a screenshot of the revision history of improvements made to an article called List of Metropolitan Areas in Indiana. This list had last been updated in 2004, so that's worryingly dated in the way that population can change, and added in all of this content over here. So all of this is new information that was added and updated to the article. So now when you go and look at that list, it's been updated thanks to one of your course participants. You've also gone in, and a couple of you have taken the leap into Commons and uploaded and inserted photos into articles. So at the below left, many of you were concerned about the lack of image on the biography of Jeremy Meeks that we analyzed earlier in our session, and one of you went ahead and called the Stockton Police Department, confirmed that indeed a mugshot is public domain, uploaded it, and shared it in the article. And since then, that mugshot has now been used in the AfroCROWD Wikipedia as well to demonstrate unique tattoos. So this is really exciting to see the travel of your work. Another one of you has uploaded a beautiful photo of a house in Sibiu, Romania, and it's been added to the Hebrew article. And then another one of you has, I believe, taken a photo of a Walt Whitman shopping mall in New York and uploaded it to an article. So really, these are great steps to take, and you went above and beyond the assignment to add and improve the encyclopedia. So congratulations. Unsurprisingly to me, many of you are readers, and therefore you are editing and improving articles about books, about stories, about types of genres of books, about their publishers, and about their authors. And so there were a number of articles that just ran the gamut from children's books, biographies of authors, and your little improvements help other readers understand. I know as a reader myself, whenever I'm done with a book, I'm not quite ready to leave the story yet, and so going in and learning more about, who the writer is and what the story was about is always really exciting, and Wikipedia is a space to do that. It is really exciting to see what you've been up to. Some of you went in, and I'm not entirely sure how you found these articles, but you have done some fantastical editing about the strangest subjects. We've had contributions to unsolved mysteries, to a thing called phantom withdrawal, which is when nobody knows who withdrew money from an ATM, and so it is legally credited to the phantom. I had no idea. And then there's also fictional diseases, a long list of diseases that only appear in fiction. And one of you, I believe a few of you are Star Trek fans and went in and ensured that the fictional diseases that appear in Star Trek are indeed included on this list. And then you've also stayed grounded. We've seen articles on trees, plants, and parks. You've, kept down to earth. This article on tree ferns, in fact, had no citations, and so the citation that was added was to an encyclopedia of science and technology. Really important start to building out that article, which was started some years ago. And it is just so neat to see all of this. We also have topics that kind of page articles that are about big concepts and topics. So you've contributed to the article on xenophobia, to the history of knitting, women of color, and the concept of republic were all improved thanks to your efforts. And then there is much room for improvement in pop culture, and so many of you have jumped in and improved articles. We had an improvement on the article for Dolly Parton, Scarlett Johansson, the Midge doll, which is Midge Barbie, as well as improvements on films and music. The knits got quite a bit of improvement, and then as well I've captured a screenshot here of the copy editing that was done to the film Bohemian Rhapsody, which is about Queen's guitarist, I think, or Queen, and highlighted in purple here are all the places where user MJR524 had improved the article. So this is really, really great work here. I know, as if we can exhaust the topics, you've also added tremendously to biographies. This was probably the biggest contribution area, was biographies of all sorts, all peoples. And one here I wanted to flag was just adding an entry to a historical figure here, Hans Belmer. And so you dug up a book about Hans Belmer and added a very specific citation, which was about his role in the French Resistance. So that was kind of exciting to see. So really, congratulations, everyone. You've done incredible, incredible work here. Now I want to share with you a couple of editing tips that I thought you might appreciate. Now that you've gotten your toes wet in editing, here's a couple of ways that you can learn a little bit more or improve your method. So first of all, if you haven't seen this already, I wanted to let you know that you can reuse citations. And this is slightly hidden, but I'm just going to show it to you right now. When you go ahead and click on this Cite tool, you can do an automatic, which we've talked about. You can manually put in, which is filling in a form. And then once you've used a citation, you can reuse it. It will just load up the citations that are used already in the article and give you the opportunity to click on it. Then at the bottom in the reference list, it will note how many times a citation is used with A, B, C, and so on. And so when you're evaluating an article, one of the little subtle cues you can look to is to see which citations are being used the most, because that will give you an indication of what's the backbone of the article. But when you're writing an article, you can use this easy tool to reuse a citation. You don't have to create it from scratch. If you're editing an article that is underdeveloped, such as this one on tree ferns was, you may find that you actually need to insert a reference list. They do automatically generate, but they won't generate unless you tell them to. So I'm going to tell you how to do that. You can create a heading and pop in the word references. Now some people use bibliography. There's different words used for this. The aim is to be consistent within the article. And then you go ahead and press Insert on your visual editor toolbar and scroll all the way down to Reference List and just pop that in and save your changes, and that will load up all your references. I also wanted to show you something fun about the citation hunt, and given the really interesting things that you were covering, I wasn't sure if you had chosen to work on these topics or if they had just come your way, but it is possible to curate your list of kind of random citations to work from in the citation hunt. So if you hadn't seen this, and I show this to you because I didn't realize it earlier when I first used this, was that you can actually write in keywords here for different categories, and it will load the number of citations for those categories. So if you were looking, for example, to add a citation to an Australian historic place article category, there is one article that needs a citation there. So that you can load in an area or a topic that interests you. For example, if you're from a city or a state, load that in and it will show you which citations are needed. So it's a nice way to curate your choices. And then finally, I just wanted to make sure that everyone had an overview of what all the visual editor can do. And this is courtesy of our guide Carrie Raymond, who we heard speak last week, she's given us this overview of all the different things that Visual Editor does. And I think insert here is where you'll find a lot of different things that you can do. This is where you can insert categories and templates, or not categories, templates and photos, tables, and so on. And so that's something that you can explore and get to know. But you can refer back to this list as you move forward in your editing journey. And so, very, very exciting. I now wanted to move into, I will say actually maybe it's a good time to pause to see if there's any questions or that have surfaced in chat as I've covered all of the things that you have done and can do.
Quick question, this person missed where you curate those categories. Is that off the Citation Hunt page?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So this is on the Citation Hunt page. When you're there, there's this empty box below, and so what I did there is I've written in places, and so you can see it's preloaded categories that have that word in them, places. Now it's pretty generic. If I had loaded maybe a name like Seattle, it might be more clear how I've done that. But this is or you can write, women in science, or another concept or term that you're interested in, fiction, and that will preload articles that need citations within that category. And I do see there was a question about the graphic.
Yeah, that will provide a PDF.
Yes, absolutely, we'll provide a PDF for you.
Yes. There was one other little question, if we have time, on reusing citations.
Absolutely.
When you do that, can you change the page number?
Yes, exactly, you can. And so what you can do is once you've reused the citation, then you go in and you edit it after. So you pop in the reused citation, and then you can edit it so that it shows the different page numbers there. Great questions. I know, I appreciate all of your attention to detail and the really interesting work that was covered here in your past few weeks of taking a dive into editing. And so, one thing that I wanted to see if you could figure out, which is, how did we dig up all of your editing contributions? I wondered if anyone in chat, now guys, I'll ask you to abstain from answering this question, but if there is any participants who might have an idea of how we have collected all of this information. That's right. So one of you says on our user page, you can see the histories. Yes, Wiki knows and sees all. Aha, Liz, thank you. Yes. So Outreach Wikipedia. So you are giving exactly all the right answers. Everything, as you know, on Wikipedia is publicly available. Everything is saved and is shareable. Doesn't always mean that it's easy to suss through. I think data overload and information overload is a very real situation. And so what's happened is that there's a great tool that's been developed initially by the folks, the brilliant folks at the Wiki Education Foundation. They wanted to find a way to collect all of the editing done by students participating in a course. And so they've created a mechanism that will, if you insert the Wikipedia usernames of a set of people, then you can pull all of the contributions that they've made and where into one place, and this place is called Dashboard. That platform has been shared out with the Wikimedia Foundation Labs, and so it's been renamed and it's accessible there, Outreach Dashboard. And so here is an annotation of our course trainings dashboard page. And I show you this because this is something that is not only a fabulous demonstration of the excellence that you've done by participating in this course, but it's also something that if and when you opt to have a Wikipedia-related event, whether that's with colleagues, with patrons, or with partners, you can use this platform yourselves to see what you've been up to and to share in your accomplishments. So it's a really exciting thing, and I will just take a minute to show you some of the features on it. So you can access your dashboard from here. It says My Dashboard, and that will take you to a list of any programs that you have created. There are trainings here that you can participate in, and even there are trainings on how to use Outreach Dashboard. So if you do want to use Outreach Dashboard, I would highly recommend that you just jump in and take a training on it that's available on the dashboard. And we have links to all of this available on our course, or we'll have on our course page where you can find out more. You can even, once you've loaded in your editors, you just pop in very easily each username, and that's it. You don't have to do anything more, and press save, and it will populate all of your activity. You should put in a start and end date to when it should start pulling their activity or not, so you capture the course dates, and then it will load up what's been happening. There is a slight lag, so once you've put in the usernames, it may take 24 hours to update every bit of the activity. And then you can see, how many articles were edited, the total number of edits, and you can go to these different tabs. For example, you can click on editors, and it will show you line by line what each editor has accomplished. It will show you line by line which articles have been edited and by whom. So if multiple editors are working on one article, it will show that out there. And then it will just also load the most recent activity, so you can see, who's done something today, and check that out. And then there's the great option to download the CSV file where you can manipulate and look at these statistics using your own Excel program or analysis program. So this is a very handy, really incredible, actually, platform that's taken this idea that everything is accessible and open on Wikipedia and pulled it into a nifty one-place snapshot where you can really pay attention to a group easily. I think otherwise we'd be poking around on Wikipedia looking at individual user contributions. I showed you how to look at that last week, and as you can see, it takes a number of different clicks on your Wikipedia page to find out, your edit counts and which pages you contributed to. So this is a really handy way to have this all pulled into one place. I'm seeing a couple of questions here, so I'll attend to them now. I think that you can certainly use these for any kind of Wikipedia event. These automatically pull contributions from Wikidata, Wikipedia, and Commons. So you can see here there's been 15 Commons uploads, and this is where I saw the images that had been uploaded by our course participants and where and which articles they were used. Many of you uploaded images that you used on your user page, and I didn't highlight these earlier, but I did want to say that you were exploring how to upload images, and that's fantastic. So we had a number of Commons contributions, a few that were used in articles as well. It's not exactly a space for sociality. So this is a space for kind of looking at what people are doing, but I wouldn't call it a meetup page. It's a place just kind of to give you this meta view of what's happening, but there's no real way for people to communicate on here and write comments. It's really just pulling it all together. Any other questions about the Outreach Dashboard?
Well, I think there's one question which Marilee's been answering, but but I'm wondering, is there a user-specific view? Can you look at this view per user where you have all this data for a single user lined up?
Yes.
As a different way from just looking at a user's individual page.
Yeah. You can create as many, you can look at individual editors and see, now let's see if I I didn't pull here. Earlier in the deck, I showed you a snapshot of an authorship done by one of you on the Bohemian Rhapsody film, and that was a detailed shot at what one user had contributed, and you can even, I mean, and this is incredible, it pulls up and you can see authorship as it was done on an article that, you know, has multiple authors. You can see exactly where the contributions are. It also can show you, and this is here, where you're making those contributions. So I was able to see that, you know, 37% of you are making edits in the main space of Wikipedia, but the majority of you are, you know, getting your bearings in our community spaces. And so this is the user page, sandbox, any additional user pages you've created out of tutorials, or going to community spaces like Tea House and asking questions. So these are all community spaces, and I really would encourage you to get your bearings in community space and then be bold and go ahead and make those main space contributions, because those are the front page of Wikipedia, and that's what everyone is going to see. And I will also say these are all what you have accomplished in our course, and I did exclude guides from this summary, so it really is showing just what our new course participants are doing. Congratulations. I also had the opportunity to interact with some of you in Wiki on talk pages, and we haven't covered extensively how to use talk pages. As you may have seen, it does require, you know, taking the plunge and trying out a little markup language, but it can be fun. I appreciated one of you saying that the state of confusion isn't always a bad place to visit, and the idea that you can certainly activate your librarianship in an online space by engaging with Wikipedia. And even though Wikipedia is not a social media, there are social aspects to it. If a bit clunky, they're certainly endearing. I love giving Wiki love, cupcakes, kitty cats. Anytime you travel to a new land, it can be a little overwhelming to get to know the cultural norms, and Wikipedia is no different. It has, you know, strange and interesting culture, but I hope that you appreciate the cuisine. We have lots of cupcakes, cookies, and brownies to share. I think you may find that the best way to contribute is on the article pages. Wikipedians as volunteers may be very quick to respond, but many may be busy and only make 1 or 2 contributions and then not log on for a while. So you might find that it's not going to be quite a speedy experience to participate in conversations on Wikipedia. The places where you're most likely to get a response are if you go to a community space like the Tea House. And so now I'd like to dive into what you can do if you decide to go a little bit further and create an article. So this is a new topic that we haven't covered yet, in part because there are more than 5 million articles on Wikipedia, and as you've seen, many of them do need improvement. And so my philosophy is really try and improve first, and then get to know what's already there before moving into seeing what you can contribute, because that will really mean that your impact is felt. You'll have an understanding of what's already there around a topic that you're concerned with. To create an article, there are a number of things that you can keep in mind, and so I wanted to just highlight a couple of these and then say that I can point you to a longer resource page that we have available in the course space where some of these points are a little more detailed. But the first thing that you should know about creating an article is that in order to prevent vandalism and to encourage higher quality articles in getting up into the main space, only editors who have an auto-confirmed account are actually technically able to create a new article. And now this is new. This kind of rule just was launched in September 2017. So this is a new rule. And this is aiming really to preserve the integrity of Wikipedia going forward. But like any rule, it kind of can be a double-edged sword, because that can mean if you'd like to contribute but you're not auto-confirmed, you may experience some difficulties. Well, what is being auto-confirmed? Let me explain that very briefly. It just basically means that you've fulfilled two criteria, that your account your Wikipedia username has been in existence for 4 days, and that you've made 10 edits. So the 4-day, 10-edit rule. I would say probably the majority of you are auto-confirmed. Simply by participating in this course, your account is definitely older than 4 days, and most of you have made, I mean, the average number of edits was 11. So many of you are on your way to contributing to articles, and if you haven't yet, gone in and made those edits, you can go forward out of the community space into the main space and add some wiki links, copy edit the articles, and get up to that 10 edit count. That will give you that auto-confirmed status. That will mean that you can edit articles that have the little lock sign on there because you've been auto-confirmed, so you've passed that barrier. And it also means that you can create an article. Now, once you've been auto-confirmed, you can just think about the kind of following questions. You should ensure that the topic that you'd like to create an article on, meets the general notability guidelines. It's encyclopedic. And then you can follow kind of some musts that I've talked with the Wikipedia guides as well as some other Wikipedians about kind of things that you should do to make sure that your article stands on its own feet. And I say this because many, if not all, new articles are patrolled by Wikipedia community members who are really concerned about the encyclopedias as being reliable and high quality, and so the articles are patrolled to make sure that they're up to stuff. So if you've done a number of things to make sure your new contribution can stand on its own feet, then you won't find out that your article has been flagged for deletion. So you can find out if you're auto-confirmed, I see this question here, by going to your user page and checking out your user rights at the very bottom. But basically, it's this 4-day-old 10-edit rule. And then once you've talked about or developed out your article idea, you can create it in a user space so that you don't have to create it in the new page already. You create it in your user space and then you can move it over. So all of these things I cover in greater detail on our course page, so you can look there. But you may find yourself in a place where you've been editing and you realize, there are topics, there are biographies, there are subjects that simply are underdeveloped and they need new articles. And so you will be well set to create those articles by heeding these suggestions. Now, the next thing that I wanted to ask you about was just kind of to switch gears here and think about Wikipedia in situ. And I wondered if we could just take a minute to share out with our group how many of you have used Wikipedia, or what are your perspectives, even broader? What are your perspectives on Wikipedia and mobile devices? Do you help patrons with, accessing the internet on their mobile devices? Have you run any sessions on using mobile devices to access information? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, or if you yourself during this course have used Wikipedia on your mobile device. Have you been doing our course on your mobile device? What are your thoughts? And the reason I ask this is because recently the Pew Research study came out in 2017 that the majority of Americans are using mobile devices. I think 77% of Americans have a mobile device. But even more importantly, 1 in 10 Americans is using their mobile device and their smartphone mobile device to access the internet. So they don't have broadband internet at home. And those numbers can vary depending on where you are. But often lower income, people of color, younger Americans who are lower income may only have a higher likelihood of just having internet access with their mobile device. So I think for me it's really important to think about what's the experience like of Wikipedia on a mobile device, and this is actually something that's worth thinking about.
So we're getting quite a few
we are getting some answers. Oh, great.
We're getting quite a few people who've used Wikipedia either frequently, someone said always. Always on Wikipedia on my phone, but comments that it's edit.
Exactly.
Not where you want to write or edit Wikipedia.
Exactly. So I would say mobile, especially if you're using there's really 3 ways you can access Wikipedia on your mobile device. There's an app that's run by the Wikimedia Foundation. It's the official app, and it is wonderfully responsive and great for reading articles. So this is great too if you're reading articles. However, it will not let you see very easily, in my experience, view history or talk pages or edits, and so it can be hard if you're looking to help people kind of grapple with the complexity of Wikipedia to do that using this app, because this really makes it easy to read. The best way to see that is by looking at mobile Wikipedia in a web browser, so actually not using the app, even deleting the app, because I think the default can be if you search something in your browser, then it will open the app if you open that page. But it's using the browser in your or Wikipedia in your web browser. And so here is a screenshot. This is me actually editing this article on Muslim holidays on my mobile Wikipedia app, and I have the editor open, and I inserted a wiki link using this wiki link here to the Moon's Revolution, and then you just go ahead and press save. Now, I actually have edited more times than I can really count on my app, on my mobile phone, mostly adding wiki links or adding in additional information. Citations can be a little bit harder to do, but there are some veteran Wikipedians who do say that it's possible to edit on your web browser. You can also access the full desktop experience on your mobile phone, but you do have to open up the mobile Wikipedia in your web browser and then scroll all the way to the bottom, and then you can click on that full desktop experience button, and that will let you see everything that you would see on a computer page, but it's actually not very responsive. So it's really small to read, and it won't, stretch in and out to fill the screen in a really neat way otherwise. So there's more information about mobile Wikipedia, again, in our course space, where you can check there to get a sense of what you need to know about mobile Wikipedia to help yourselves and to help patrons. And now I'd really like to, without further ado, zoom out a little bit from thinking about the nitty-gritty of Wikipedia editing and Wikipedia on devices, and really think about the impact that Wikipedia can have in uplifting and empowering communities. And so today I'm really pleased and honored to introduce Rajene Hardeman and Sherry Antoine, who are our guest presenters. They are both from AfroCROWD, which is a community organization that's based out of Brooklyn, New York. I think they recently opened up an outpost in London, which is really exciting. But many of you have already had the chance to get to know Rajene. She's been a Wikipedia guide since the beginning of our course. I met her over the summer at Wikimania when I heard Sherry Antoine speak as a keynote speaker at the event, and Rajene and Sherry were both really enthusiastic about this course and sharing out their experiences. And Rajene is a librarian. She is a trustee at the Howland Public Library and the founder of Anytime Learning, and she's been with us supporting and cheering you on, and now she's going to share with Sherry, who is the program and outreach manager of AfroCROWD, what they do, why they do it, how Wikipedia has helped them serve the communities that they work with, and what you can learn from them for your libraries as well. So thank you for your ears and attention, and thank you, Rajene and Sherry, for joining us today.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So my name's Rajene Hardeman, and I'm happy to be here, happy to be with this great group that's put on this online course. And Sherry Antoine and I are here to talk about AfroCROWD, specifically methods of engagement and outreach and partnerships and a little bit about the application of a sort of a formula for enhancing your community project. So that's us there. First, I wanted to talk a little bit about AfroCROWD and me. There are a couple of key events that I had with AfroCROWD that are really stand out in my mind, and one of them, of course, was Montreal. We went to Montreal in Canada for the Wikimania 2017. For the WikiCon North America, AfroCROWD presented, and also I just made so many connections. There were 900 participants in 70 countries at Wikimania 2017, so it was great to be there. That's my last key meeting with AfroCROWD, my last key really exciting one, besides this one. But the first one was really at Schomburg Library during Black History Month, where we'll talk about a little bit later. The main event was sort of we, in real time, talked to some folks in Ghana that were actually conducting an editathon at the same time. I think we have a slide on that later. Also, Wikimedia, you can see in the bottom image, Wikimedia New York City, AfroCROWD are members of Wikimedia New York City, and they also helped us get to Montreal. And then that photo in the sort of top left is myself and Kelly Foster, who is now the Wikipedian of the Year for UK, and also starting AfroCROWD in the UK. And you can just see that we're just having a ball talking and just enjoying Montreal, and it's really all about making connections and how we can do that. So I know we've talked a lot about why we use Wikipedia, but just specifically for AfroCROWD, Wikipedia is a great information and knowledge gatekeeper. It's popular, and it influences how people do see the world. And also it's in global languages, which is really key for when you're trying to reach non-English speaking participants. And for many cultures, but particularly the culture, the African diaspora culture, there are many languages and dialects that are spoken. So Wikipedia can help with those. And here's a shot, excuse me, of Ghana. This is from the Ghana side, but this is when we were at Schomburg, and we had our editathon at the same time they were having their editathon. It was really a great shared experience, and it was one of the key moments when I actually fell in love with AfroCROWD. So now I'm going to turn it over to my co-presenter, my colleague, Sherry Antoine, who will take you through what is AfroCROWD and some of the wonderful things that have been going on. Sherry?
Hi, Rajene. Hi, everybody. It's great to be here today. I'm Sherry Antoine. I'm the Program and Outreach Manager for AfroCROWD. And let's go back to this slide before. Now, AfroCROWD, the mission of AfroCROWD, and Rajene kind of talked a little bit about what it's like to be an AfroCROWD, but our mission is to increase the number of people of African descent who edit Wikipedia and actively participate in the Wikipedia community and Wikimedia community. Now, our focus is very thematic, and it's very targeted to a specific audience. But as I go through our little talk here today, I want you to kind of look for ways that you can apply it to your community as librarians or just people active in your community and your organization. And hopefully by the end of this, you'll get an idea of some ideas that you can use to implement some of the things you've been learning all week concerning Wikipedia and Wikipedia editing. For AfroCROWD, we focus on people of African descent and content concerning the African diaspora. And we, since we began in 2015 during Black History Month, have had at least one thematic Wikipedia editathon or event since we began. I started in August of 2015. Our founder, Alice Backer, who is on the board of Wikimedia New York City, actually founded it in Black History Month with that intention to kind of increase the number of people editing, as the numbers right now have been estimated to be about 10% or lower. So we're kind of slowly getting there. So for those, just really quickly, to get an idea of what we've been up to and what the results of some of our efforts, we've been in the New York Times, we've received cultural preservation awards, we've presented, and as Rajene mentioned, keynoted at several conferences in the Wikimedia community. That's me at the bottom there with Jimmy Wales. And just recently we were mentioned in The Guardian, and we've also in the United Kingdom, and we've also been presented at the United Nations. Okay, now down to the nitty-gritty. So when you hear about an AfroCROWD edit-a-thon, there's many things that might come to mind, but here's the breakdown of what we actually are and what we actually do and ways that you can apply it. An AfroCROWD edit-a-thon is a mixture of regular Wikipedia edit-a-thon, sort of a learn-a-thon, where we start off by training everybody in how to edit Wikipedia. Then we follow on to what we like to call a Wikipedia editing hackathon, where you focus on your project or what you're trying to edit, and you have one-on-one Wikimedia instructors, or what we call wiki coaches, to help you along, to answer your question. And kind of bundling it up together, it's kind of the atmosphere of a neo-soul cafe. So you'll have people eating and drinking, light beverages. There's music playing in the background. We like to make it very welcoming for everyone. So once you pop in, regardless of your level of Wikipedia exposure, you have a way of plugging in. And there's going to be someone there to guide you along. And then, of course, we've got that corporate kind of learn-a-thon part of it, where we kind of all learn together and all the same pace. So it provides a really good communal experience and makes those who come feel pretty welcome. So using this method, we've seen 4 times the expected growth rate that we were looking for. In the span of less than a year, we had more than 65,000 words added to Wikipedia, as well as more than 15 million bytes and counting. And we've grown a lot faster via social media, for example, than we expected, reaching thousands weekly, and that number also continues to grow. So we've seen a lot of quick growth. And a lot of that success comes through engagement. So engagement for AfroCROWD is a big thing, because what we like to do is we like to connect with our surrounding community through partnerships, through allied organizations, through what we call GLAM, which is galleries, libraries, archives, and museums. We also connect through educational institutions and culturally focused institutions. So as you scan through these photos here, it's a kind of a brief example of what those are. We've been at conferences. We've allied with people at the Allied Media Conference, for example, in Detroit. We were asked to come by to talk about oral history, which is something that we've been working on. We've allied with the Dalit Indian community to hold conferences together. So we don't have the same focus, but we have similar kind of focuses because we focus on cultural identity. At the bottom left, you'll see photos from Blurred. Blurred is a Black Girl Nerd organization in New York City, and we had a comic book edit-a-thon with them. And at the bottom right, you'll see a picture of our UK organizer who is leading activities over there. So in short, it's a good idea to be creative with your outreach. Don't just stay focused on one particular way of doing things. Find different ways to ally yourself with others who have similar interests. It may not be a technical interest, but you may all be interested in a similar area. Find common ground and then connect on those and figure out ways that you can work together. And you don't even have to stay connected just to your local area. You can reach out in different ways. You can take yourself there. You can connect in other ways, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit. And of course, take a look at ways to reach out using for example, in this slide, you'll see the flyer that we use on social media. You can, of course, use listservs. You can use personal connections. Let's just go through this process very quickly. So on this particular slide, our process was to start with one organization in the librarian community. We wanted to be a part of what's called One Librarian, One Rep. And I think many of you may have learned about it during these series. But One Librarian, One Rep was a Wikimedia initiative to get librarians editing Wikipedia, and we wanted to be a part of that. So we connected with our local librarians at the New York Black Librarians Caucus. And we worked with that partnership for a while until we connected and said, you know, we're going to have an edit-a-thon, and here's when we're going to do it. And after that, of course, you reach out through social media, you reach out through Wikipedia itself, listservs, however way you can get the word out. And this is one of the flyers we made for that. And of course, you bring together the people who will make the pieces, right? You need volunteers, for example, at your local Wikipedia organization. We've got in New York City, we've got Wikimedia New York City. You can reach out to people online and say, you know, we're going to have this event. We need volunteers to help teach people how to edit. Some chapters are willing to send people out to help you. You can even get online assistance. We can help you online. There's many ways to get that support. And for our process, we always have a training to make sure people are grounded in one set of knowledge and skills. And it was a great event. As you can see from that photo at the bottom, there are some of the people that were there. Not all of them were librarians. A good portion were librarians, but others from the community were also interested. So there's always that potential for outreach. So I've kind of mentioned a few of the ways that you can reach out. We've talked a little bit about video. I think Rajene mentioned earlier we connected with Ghana that way. I had some people take some video when we were in Ghana for a conference called Wiki Indaba, and we knew that we would have Black History Month coming up, and we wanted to make sure that people felt connected to the experience that we have in Ghana. So we had that video shot before then. So planning also helped. And as Rajene mentioned, it was a powerful tool for her. And also, don't forget about video links like Skype and Google Hangouts. If you feel isolated in your community, you're like, you know, I'm interested in Wikipedia editing, but I don't have anyone near me who is kind of on the same page. Video links like Google Hangouts and Skype and others are useful for that, just like we're doing today with Web Junction. Also, partnerships are so important. If you have an idea, find an organization who may be on the same page with you and reach out to them to see if you can't bring it to your organization. And of course, there are many opportunities to go to Wikipedia events. I think some were mentioned. And of course, there's online editing. So there's so many ways to reach out. Just be creative and think outside the box when it comes to that, or you can get help. And here's an example of what we have done. In 1 month, like I mentioned, One Librarian, One Rep was a great initiative. I would suggest it for anybody here who's interested in kind of a thematic event that can connect librarians from different places. If you want to connect with other librarians and say, hey, we want to do this thing, get together online and you can make it happen. For us, we had a particularly busy month in June. I think this was last year, 2015, and we made this flyer to go out to kind of let people know what's going on so they can plug in. And there's so many examples of great ways to implement what you're learning here on here. We, just in that month alone, we had people head out to do a culture walk with Wiki Commons, taking pictures that you would add to Wikipedia. We had people go to museums. We had people host an editing lab at the Brooklyn Library. We actually started out. And there were training the trainers events. We've also done conferences and community booths, skill shares. We worked with the Brooklyn Library for a skill share. And there are also, of course, topical edit-a-thons and others. So I can definitely go more into those particular ideas later if you're interested. But this last slide here kind of brings together some of the ways that the flow can happen. I mentioned that we wanted to connect with people using video, for example. So I'll walk you through what happened here. We met people in Africa, in Ghana, and we knew, you know, we want to take back what we found here. Just kind of like you met people during this conference and you want to bring them back to your community, but physically that's not possible. So what we did was we connected people from that conference via video and later via video link and kind of brought them over to the Schomburg where we talked about what we learned there and how we can connect on the information that was happening within the community. To this day, we're very connected via social media, via Wikipedia itself, and other groups with the groups that we met there. So basically, the moral of the story is it's empowering to be able to be part of the telling of your own story. Whether your own story really is identified as I'm a librarian and librarians are awesome, or I think women librarians should be uplifted, or women should be uplifted in this particular avenue, or any other issue, there's some way of finding common ground, connecting with others, creating partnerships with others to come together using open space tool like Wikipedia to coalesce around one topic and grow that topic into something you can do corporately as a community. And there's just so many opportunities and ways that you can express that. But ideally, what you want, and one way that we measure our success is through the ways that people feel that engagement, that outreach. We have lots of metrics to measure ourselves, but at the end of the day, you want someone like Rajene or some of the other people who work with feeling excited about what you're doing and wanting to reach out to others about it as well. And that can create a virality around what you're doing. And it's been an exciting kind of adventure these past 2 years doing this. Like I said, we've grown from New York and we spread out to other parts of the country and now other parts of the world. But the core of what we're doing is we are a community, and even if that community, a Wikipedia community, isn't physical, it's more of an idea that it's not just where you physically are, but where you can be together in that connection online or in other ways. You can definitely keep that going, keep that growing. And for anyone who's interested, we'd love to help you grow with that. So please connect with us on social media. We also have a listserv. It's not on here, but the listserv address is tinyurl, so tinyurl.com/myafrocrowd. So tinyurl.com/myafrocrowd. That'll connect you to a listserv. If you have any other questions, we can talk about it now, but you can also reach me at sherry@afrocrowd.org. And please follow us on social media, #AfroCROWD everywhere. Thank you so much. This has been awesome.
Yeah, I just want to add one. Yeah, I just want to add one little last anecdote just to show how all things can come together. And it's easy being in New York, so I know a lot of us are not. But I went to a wonderful thing at the Metropolitan on comic books, and I met a wonderful comic book artist named Alicia Martinez. And then I went to an editathon by Art and Feminism where they were trying to get more women articles in Wikipedia.
Yeah, that's our sister group, yeah.
And so I started an article on Alicia, who is a great comic book artist. And then AfroCROWD had their Blurred event, which Sherry mentioned earlier, and Alicia was there. And she was able to see that the article had been created and the folks there knew who she was. So it's really about whatever theme that you have and wherever you can be, whatever connections you can make, you can bring them back to Wikipedia and your community, and then they will grow. I also want to mention that AfroCROWD is also reaching out to Sweden. Is that true too?
Yeah, we're heading to Sweden next month. So in a few next week, actually. We're going to be speaking at the diversity conference there and connecting with friends from other parts of the world who have also been working towards improving diversity in open space and Wikipedia. So that's going to be very exciting.
Right. And the last thing, you did also a translate-a-thon. You helped with that too, yes?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Thanks so much for mentioning that. So back to the creativeness part, there's so many ways to connect to Wikipedia, and one of them is linguistically. And there are many languages online that are underrepresented as well. So we've connected with professors here in New York City and hope to also reach out to more in the spring with a translate-a-thon where we translate articles from one language to another. And we already have a beta test for that. So look out for us in the spring where we will be doing it again on a much larger basis. And it's going to be at LaGuardia Community College here in New York. And we're also working with Columbia University on 2 projects right now, one focused on oral history and another focused on what's called Internet in the Box. So there's definitely a lot happening. I think for everyone here, if you can join us for Black History Month in February, that would be fantastic. We're going to be at the Schomburg again. The Schomburg is a great and famous library in Harlem that focuses on the Black history and Black culture research. And that's open to everyone. Come as you are, and we'd love to meet you and have a great time with you. And think of doing it with us online as well if you're not local. All right, so that's going to be in February, yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this incredible presentation and for the call to action. I would be delighted to participate in February for that. And I just wanted to thank you again both for this overview and all the details about the AfroCROWD project. And I think we have time for one question, and one that came up is really about measuring your success with the community. What kind of community feedback have you gotten from your participants, and how do you kind of think about the ways to serve the people you're working with best with Wikipedia?
That is a wonderful question. I'm sure that Rajene has an opinion on this as well, but for me, as a program manager, I'm obviously finicky about numbers. Those matter to me, that we have metrics. Everyone that comes in gets a sheet where they're asked to sign in to their account, to create an account, sign into their account, and also to kind of connect with us, our listserv and other ways so we can kind of stay in touch. And those are very important for us, but also really what's more important is that the individuals who come, individuals like Rajene and other participants, that we see them come and that when they leave having done at least one edit. That's what we say, with the edit at least one sentence. And that they leave feeling like they got something. You know, some people come having absolutely no computer literacy, but they are phenomenal historians or historical hobbyists, and we engage them. We also do feedback forms where we ask people to kind of give us feedback of how they did. But one thing that we see is that people keep coming. You know, these events we have one every month, and they're usually different. They vary. So they can be at the hospital one day. We had one with a medical hospital where we focused on Blacks in medicine. Another might be, like I mentioned, the Schomburg, or another one with comic books. So many different ways, but there are people who just keep coming back. And Rajene was one of them, and we had a few others that kept coming back so much that eventually they were able to WikiCoach. So WikiCoaching is basically being able to help another person at the event get their account started, get themselves going, that kind of a thing. And one of our WikiCoaches was so great, we were able to send him out to Connecticut, where we had somebody wanted to have an event with us, but we couldn't physically be there because we had so much awesome happening. And I think you saw it in that slide I showed you of our event. And he was able to go with a WikiCoach from Wikimedia New York City, which is our local chapter and where we get a lot of our support, and kind of help that get running as we joined in online. So just the excitement that people have about doing it. I've had people say they feel empowered about it. And who would ever think that Wikipedia could be such an empowering tool, but it has been for some people. So So just from their response and their continued interest and growing interest, and we are working on ways to grow that even more, and there's always room to get better and better. Those things have been great.
Thank you. Thanks for that. That's really helpful. Yeah, Rajene, did you want to weigh in?
Just want to say that we have this thing in the community, each one teach one, and I think AfroCROWD is kind of like that. It's just grassroots, and one person learns and they turn and they bring in another person. So it's really kind of a grassroots growth. That's it, engagement and growth and reputation.
Yeah, I'm loving all of these examples, ideas, the translate-a-thon, you know, the sites that you're engaging and partnering with. Really, really incredible work and sensitive work. Thank you both again for your time. And now, for all of our participants, as you know, Rajene has been a guide with us, a wiki coach for the Wikipedia Plus Libraries program, and participating in the forums. And I think both Rajene and Sherry will be available if you have any further questions. They've shared their emails here, and you can certainly connect with them on social media if that's your thing, or ask questions in our forums, and I believe Rajene will be available there to field questions. So thank you both again really for taking the time to share out and tailor the presentation of your work to our group. We appreciate it. Really fantastic. Well, with that, I'd like to just give a high-level overview of a couple of things to know if you would like to do a Wikipedia event. And I've put this photo back up here again. We had it last week, and I believe there's for some of you, some familiar faces in the crowd. This is from an event that took place in Portland in 2012 for the Wikipedia Plus Libraries, or Loves Libraries, pardon me, campaign that was running at the time. Campaigns on Wikipedia and Wikimedia can come and go. It's really up to volunteer organizers to come together and put something on, and this was a really exciting one and that you can look to. And now I'd like to give you some kind of tips on things to know if you're going to have a Wikipedia event. Now, an event to me really is any time you're bringing together a group of a couple of people, maybe some who are newcomers, to talk about Wikipedia and maybe do some editing, get that one edit accomplished by the end of the session. So this might be a small staff training, or a one lib one ref kind of ad hoc copy event, or something larger like an information literacy session that includes Wikipedia and how Wikipedia editing works, or even beyond that to a bigger editing campaign. All of these situations, these issues are relevant. So the first thing that you need to know is if you're working with brand new editors, people who have never edited Wikipedia before, they should and need to create a Wikipedia username. However, in order to prevent vandalism, only 6 new accounts are technically allowed per IP address. So you'll need to find ways to get around that. And the best way is really to have participants in your event create their Wikipedia username prior to coming. And that way the IP addresses will be dispersed, and or the times you create those will be over a longer period of time. So that's something that you can be aware of and that you can prevent any difficulties. And there's ways that you can get around this too if you do find yourself in a situation where you need to create a bunch of new accounts in one sitting. And there's more advice on this in our course page, but I did want to highlight that. Another issue is what I brought up before, which is not being auto-confirmed. There are certain kinds of things that you can't do if you don't have an auto-confirmed account. Then we talked about you can't create pages. There's also pages that you can't edit if your account isn't auto-confirmed. And again, this is this kind of double-edged sword of Wikipedia's increasing reliability, which is that it can be, slightly higher barriers to entry for newcomers. But there are certainly things you can do to prevent these technical issues from getting in the way of your editing accomplishments. There also is the possibility, like anywhere on the internet really, where you might encounter some hostility or some negative personalities. And so there's a couple of suggested things that you can do if you encounter somebody who's unsavory or inflammatory on Wikipedia, and probably as, you know, public librarians who are used to encountering, you know, all sorts of people, you may have a page in your playbook that you can share out with us on how to deal with, you know, curmudgeon-y personalities. But there are a couple of things that you can do if you need to, and if you encounter anything during our course or as you develop out your plans, certainly feel free to reach out to our team here, because we are here to support you. And then finally, I wanted to highlight a couple of tips from the series of articles that we've shared with you on Librarians Who Wikipedia about what to think about when you're hosting events. And I think there was 3 that really stood out to me that will help you have success, whether it's a small or large event, which is really to have that equipment and staff preparation in place, know what your technical issues are, and be prepared for crashing the Wi-Fi if you have more participants than you really anticipated, and that was Mary Phelps at Carnegie Public Library who had that happen. Snacks and convenience are always going to be a draw. Coffee for those staff trainings or, you know, treats. And Allison Frick recruited folks for her, you know, afternoon or evening 1-hour info lit sessions with the draw of gummy worms and other snacks, and recruited folks to participate who are already in the library. So that kind of drop-in attitude with snacks will help out. And then you can also think about ways to expand access to people who might not have the capacity to come, who may have dependents, who may have mobility issues, by, you know, getting creative and thinking about ways to enable participation through your programming. And so Art and Feminism has taken a lead and spearheaded suggesting childcare as a standard for including women participants in events. But as well, you can think about where you host it and times of day as ways to be sensitive to the varieties of constraints that, you know, everybody has in their daily lives. So these are just some of the things to think about as you prepare, and there's more information on all of this in our course space on events. And with that, I'd just like to end with a quote that came from the short video that you had access to for the pre-work on the Art and Feminism editing event in 2015. And what really stood out for me was the joy that this woman shared about the event. She loved coming to it, and she wanted to come again because for her, the excitement was the same kind of excitement that you feel when you're a child and you go to the library and you check out a book and you bring it home and you read it and you cannot wait to go back to the library and check out another book. And this, to me, this parallel was just so incredible, so telling about what a library is and can do, and how having these kinds of engaging, active events can bring that same kind of joy. So if you haven't had a chance to check out that video, her enthusiasm is really contagious, and it's such a wonderful connection back to what libraries are and do. And so now I will turn our attention to Betha, which is really going to be talking about the ways that we can translate the intentions and the ideas and the creativity that you've all expressed in your editing into action.
Yes, thank you. I want to spend our last 10 minutes looking forward over what will be the last 3 weeks of our course, and that is really focused on moving into action. So we presented at our last session 5 different forms of engagement, and we asked you to reflect on them and got some tremendously wonderful comments and conversations going in the discussion forum. So thank you for all of that. I did note that the majority of people responding in the forums want to pursue an individual engagement path, which is absolutely fine. Some people noted that this is a path for introverts. As one person said, individual engagement is my preferred method of interaction due in part to my personality. That's absolutely fine. And then another acknowledgement of the value of gnome work. I want to share this example from one of our participants. She says, what excites me about gnome work is that I've already gotten into the habit of looking up Wikipedia entries on just about everything. And she goes on to say she was looking at the entry for South Omaha and saw included a table of landmark buildings with many of the elements of the table blank. And this is her quote. She said, "I couldn't resist the urge, and didn't, to readily fill in the table with several years and addresses." So yes, that is the kind of amazing contribution that you all are now in a position to make. But we, as Monica pointed out earlier, the great majority of you are still in your sandboxes. So you're practicing in a safe space, which is a great place to start. We want to encourage you to break out of the sandbox. There were a number of comments in the forums of like, just do it. And this wonderful quotation, be bold, find what excites your interest or your passion, and go for it. So with that spirit, we want you to think about the next 3 weeks. We also, I was really impressed with the number of ideas that are surfacing. For some reason, the bulk of ideas were bubbling up in the Staff Development Engagement Forum. And I think that has a lot to do with your own excitement about what you've been learning, and you want to spread the Wiki love to your colleagues. So it's just wonderful ideas about presenting at your regular meetings, like a reference services meeting or a weekly staff meeting, or getting on the schedule of your annual staff day event, doing a brown bag. One of you has already done a presentation at one or more staff meetings, and she says, "My colleague and I gave an overview of the course and really advocated for Wikipedia. Everyone on staff learned at least one new thing." So really looking at that granular way of moving people into your own excitement about Wikipedia before you leap to, a full-fledged, full-blown event. One person, this is such a great idea, is saying, in my next performance review, I plan to propose that Wikipedia work be added to my job description as a reference librarian. So just embed it in your work and just start to create that wonderful chain reaction. And I think some of that will really help to address some of the challenges that were noted. We actually asked you a specific question to identify your challenges. Very common themes across all the forms of engagement, especially around time and commitment. Big challenge for just about anything that we embark on. Many comments about needing institutional buy-in, and I think that buy-in extends not just to your administration and your supervisors, but also to your colleagues. How do you get them revved up and excited in the way that you are? And then looking toward the information literacy interactions with your patrons, how do you get your patrons to understand why they should care, A, about information literacy, and B, about Wikipedia's relationship and role in really developing that critical thinking. So we, on the project team, have developed some ways to guide you in your move from intention to action. As one of you on the message board said, when I can see goal points, it automatically places a picture of completion or something that looks more finished. And another one of you, very wonderfully, already is creating your own action plan. You said, I will make a concerted effort to actively participate, which means step 1, participate and complete Wikipedia Plus Libraries Web Junction course. Yay!
Yay.
You're almost there. Step 2, incorporate this in my overall work goals. And step 3, schedule ongoing time for Wikipedia engagement. So it's almost as if this person had peeked into our planning and gotten a preview of what we're calling the steps to engagement, 9 steps to Wikipedia engagement, and Mercy just popped a link into chat to see the full document. But it really is helping you move forward by putting some kind of framing around what you want to do. So first, thinking of the goal, what do you want to accomplish? What is success going to look like when you've done more of this Wikipedia engagement? And then thinking about how you measure that success. And that applies to everything, whether individual or doing these more complex Wikipedia editing events, but thinking about, are you doing this in quantitative terms? Are you aiming for a number of edits on your personal edit scorecard, or a number of citations added, or if you're doing an event, the number of people? But you can also think of it qualitatively. Are you creating a change in perception? And I'm hearing that already in the people who are introducing this to their staff. Or are your colleagues learning one new thing about Wikipedia? And is there a sense of achievement? So I'm seeing a lot of questions like, well, how do you do this? How do you get it? So the beginning is for you to define for yourself, who do you need to persuade to get buy-in? Because that will really help you target and tailor your messages. And then using the Steps to Engagement form, and I'm going to talk in just 1 minute about a full-fledged action plan, which really starts to put some of the nuts and bolts around it. And then how you can help each other define and develop some of those talking points and those messages. And just want to mention that when you start to fill out the Steps to Engagement document, think of it as a living document. It's something that you can keep returning to as your own immersion advances and you have more of a clear idea about what you want to do. So for group engagements, and this is anything other than individual engagement, so it starts with staff development. If you're convening a group, you're doing more than a one-on-one, it can really help to map out a lot of the details. And so we have put together an action plan, but before that, I love this quotation. It would be nice to have a list of helpful hints on trying to get a large, diverse group of people on the same page, working toward a common, and I'll put in their Wikipedia goal. There's a wonderful set of tutorials, and I think we have a link to that, or we will soon have a link to that, that Wikipedia has put together, which is specifically addressing editathons and how to stage an editing event. But it has a lot of elements that apply to any kind of a group engagement around Wikipedia. So very pretty quick and easy to get through, and just wonderful nuggets of information. We also have provided some quick links in the learning guide if you consult page 4 of the learning guide, and in the course page to some of the topics that I think might be of particular interest to everyone. But really encourage you to go watch the tutorials, go through tutorials, then look at the action guide. It's not a required thing, but it's going to help you identify where you need to put pieces in place and what you need to work on. And that brings us to our next steps, and I just want everyone to appreciate this awesome pumpkin that was carved by somebody from the Wikimedia Foundation. It's a photograph of an actual pumpkin.
Wow.
I'm a pumpkin carver, and I'm just in awe.
Halloween, Wikipedia.
This is so cool. Okay, so bringing us to what are the assignments for the next 3 weeks that will lead up to our final live session on November 15th. So one is just identifying at least one way that you intend to engage and commit to that action using those steps to engagement and filling that in first. So that's actually something we're considering as an assignment and a requirement if you are seeking completion for this course. So you will find instructions on how to do that on the page where you find the Steps to Engagement document. And then our other, and I'm saying this is actually a very, very important piece of this assignment this week, is to talk to your peers. I know you've got a lot of great conversation going already. We're going to have you return to the engagement forums in section 4, which are segmented by the forms of engagement where you've already started talking. But we're going to unstructure it. So there will be a topic to respond to that's just talk to your peers, not answering questions like you're talking to your instructor, but really help each other out. So if you're trying to develop talking points for buy-in to your supervisor, share what you're thinking, get other people to contribute. If you've got specific ideas for events you want to do, share that, and where are you running into hurdles. So what we're really seeking is this conversation to unfold in a way that you are really supporting each other over the next 3 weeks. Or beyond. I believe we'll have the forums open through the end of November at least, because you are really your own best support. You're all on this path together. There will be guides to help answer some of the gnarlier questions, but this is your community, and this is a rare opportunity while you're involved in this course to speak to a librarian community of people who are venturing into Wikipedia. So be bold, as always, and be even bolder, because this is a call to volunteers. We are looking for the bold and brave among you who will be willing to share your Wikipedia engagement experience or plan or first steps at our next live session, so 3 weeks from now on November 15th. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your voices talk to your peers about what kind of plan you've laid out, what you're thinking, maybe what you've already done, and just bring that really to life and bring it home at our last session. So email Mercy by next Wednesday, November 1st. And hopefully we'll have a good group of bold volunteers and a great last session. So thank you, everyone, again and again and again. You are really a dedicated and hardy group of librarians who are Wikipediaing. And we'll see you in 3 weeks at our final session on November 15th. Thanks all.
Thank you, everyone. Action-packed session. Thank you.